Hello there, Game Jam players. Coach Crits here, but with a little bit on defensive neutral. What do I mean by that? Well, I like to think of neutral in two ways. Offense, defense. To have a solid understanding of neutral, you have to be able to recognize both styles of gameplay. And what I'm going to do here is help you understand a little bit of defensive playstyles. Today's warm-up is going to be 5 B reverses. This tech is really handy for defensive play, so it fits with the lesson. So let's get to B reversing. If you don't know how to do that, you input your special in the direction you want, and then press your stick in the opposite direction. And if you did it right, you'll see this. When you're navigating neutral, you and your opponent are looking for ways to hit the other. That's the most basic way that I can state it. To have a defensive neutral means you're looking to open up your opponent based off of their approaches. This doesn't always mean a full combo. Just a quick jab or starbits is still technically winning a neutral exchange. A defensive playstyle often leads to a lot of resetting to a safe neutral after their advantage state ends. Some players will opt to keep pressure going after a lot of advantageous situations, and while it's commonly optimal, some like to play a much slower game. Often characters like Samus, Sephiroth, and Sonic can employ a defensive neutral incredibly well. I'm going to talk about their individual game plans, briefly, and how they can do that to help y'all use the same strats on your own characters. Let's start with Samus, because hers is really easy to do, and really easy to explain. The power lies in her projectiles. If you've gone online in Smash, there's a high chance you've run into a player with a high love for using side B and charge shot. Probably the occasional fair and grab as well. These tools allow Samus to control an incredible amount of space, which is how she's able to keep a strong defensive neutral going. What these players are doing is creating a wall, an obstacle course, for the opponent to get through. Young Link can do this really well too. The main idea here is to combat the opponent's movement when they try to approach, and if they do, use one of your strong coverage moves. Missile covers the ground, so the opponent jumps. Fair then covers the jump. Or, Missile is covering the ground again, but the opponent shields it and keep going. Grab would catch her shield. Or, because they have to stop, you have time to charge your charge shot and get a little bit of space. What I want you guys to do, in order to get a general understanding, is to take Samus and use Missiles, charge shot, and fair for 5 minutes. You'll begin to understand what I mean when I say they're really good for defense. Make sure to take mental notes. Alternatively, go play a game with Samus and try out being a little defensive with her. Sephiroth does a similar thing to Samus, but rather than using his specials to do it, it's his gigantic sword that covers the whole screen. Sephiroth is a bit of an extreme example of having big, slow normals, but he fits the bill for a defensive waller kind of too perfectly. I want you guys to go into training mode on the training stage and find out how far his bear and his fair hit, and then hit the max spacing of those 5 times, as long as it's still within the sweet spot for bear. The concept is the same as Samus. Cover approaches with F-tilt, fair, and bear from a distance, and with a little bit of side B though. Sonic is a bit different from the previous two that I've mentioned when it comes to defensive neutral. They used their respective projectiles and range to poke and prod the opponent away until they get their advantage state going. The way Sonic goes about is using his speed and his movement. This is honestly the harder of the styles to get used to, as you have to have a really good understanding of burst ranges and what you can weave in and out of. But he plays for the clock. Patience is key, work your way in slowly, and use your movement to shoot away from the opponent before they can even reach you. Sonic is the best example for this, but Zero Suit and Sheik can kinda do this tactic as well, due to Flip Kick and Bouncing Fish also being a fast getaway option, just not as good. He has quick moves and combos he uses, but nothing is super long. Just 2 to 4 hit combos, reset to neutral with the percent lead. It's easy to explain the basis of, but it's really hard to perform consistently. Along with playing defensively comes with understanding your universal options like shield, rolls, and air dodges, since you'll be counterattacking after the opponent after all. Now, go into some matches with friends or online and practice being defensive for a consistent scrim session. Trust me, I know it's hard, but as you play slow and methodical, you'll start to understand defensive gameplay beyond just run away. Try to get an hour of games in and take notes every so often. Do note that the optimal gameplay does mix both offense and defense, but it's good to focus on one thing at a time when you're building up that skill. But that was Coach Crits with a bit of defensive neutral and styles. As always, reach for your dreams and keep practicing.